The movie opens with a little girl, Frankie, searching for her lost dog. She runs home to wake up her dad, who picks her up and goes out to look around for the dog. They shout its name, but all in vain. Frankie is sad. Her dad assures her it will come home soon if they put food and water in its bowl. He jokes and teases her to cheer her up. He goes inside to wake up his wife to start the day. This is a family of 3, living in the countryside: Dean, Cindy, and their daughter, Frankie. Dean paints walls for a living. His hands and clothes always have some paint stains. He smokes and drinks more than usual. His beer belly and receding hairline make him look older than his age. Cindy is relatively younger. She is a nurse. They aren't people with a lot of money. Cindy's father resides in the same town, and Frankie enjoys spending time with her grandpa. They all cherish Frankie, who is a charming and smiley child. Dean plays with her, acts silly around her, and makes her laugh. Cindy is preparing breakfast. Frankie doesn't want to eat. Dean has a funny and playful way to make her eat. Cindy isn't patient about it. She says Dean is being a kid and creating a mess. Frankie is choosy about food, about clothing. She gets into a dress of her choice and is ready for school. Cindy drops Frankie off at school on her way to the hospital. Dean reminds Cindy to put on the seatbelt. He yells at a person driving past Cindy, reversing the car. It seems that Dean has a short temper. Cindy stays mute, unresponsive, and uninterested in everything around her. Cindy is printing flyers for their missing dog at the hospital when Dr. Sam comes to talk to her. He has been offered a job in his clinic and is waiting for her decision. She says she has to think about it. We see Cindy chatting and smiling when working. She is good at what she does and interacts with everyone in the hospital cheerfully. She is free from work now and is heading to attend Frankie's recital. On her way, she finds their dog's lifeless body by the roadside. Dean is on time for the recital. Cindy arrives late. They wave at Frankie, who is singing on stage and is happy to see her parents. Cindy whispers to Dean to tell him about their dog. She weeps silently. Dean says she was supposed to keep the gate locked for this day. The recital finishes. Frankie asks about their dog. Dean says it must have gone to be a movie star. It satisfies Frankie somewhat. Cindy hides her tearful eyes behind sunglasses. They are going to drop off Frankie at her grandpa's for tonight. Looks like Dean and his father-in-law don't get along much. Dean isn't willing to go inside his place when dropping off Frankie. Grandpa asks Cindy if she and Dean are fighting again. She doesn't want to talk about it. Now we go to the past to see the history of Cindy and Dean. Dean is a young, handsome boy with full hair and a good physique, but the same jolly nature. He is a high school dropout with no high ambitions or bigger plans. His parents separated when he was 10. His father is a janitor. His mother married someone else. He gives an interview and gets hired by a moving company. We see him doing work actively, carrying big boxes and loading on trucks to move. It is his conversation with his fellow laborers that tells us the romantic person he is. He believes a man falls in love with a woman for pure love. The woman wants a man with a good paycheck. Taking after his father, Dean has a flair for music. He plays the ukulele for himself. They are moving the possessions of a lonely elderly man, Walter. He is going to reside in a care home. Dean goes the extra mile and organizes Walter's things keenly in his new room, then shows him where he has placed his shoes and clothes. Walter is thankful to Dean for being so kind. Dean says goodbye and grabs his payment from the dresser to leave. That is when he sees Cindy Heller for the first time. In the present, Dean buries their dog and cries with tears. Cindy calms him and hugs him. Dean watches footage of their dog playing with Frankie. Cindy is cleaning the house. Dean gets up and makes a phone call. He thinks he and Cindy need to get out, spend tonight in a motel and relax. He makes a reservation for a honeymoon suite. Cindy doesn't want to do this. She says she has a long-hour duty at the hospital tomorrow. She doesn't feel like spending a night in a substandard motel. Dean tries to convince her and then confirms the reservation despite her refusal. Cindy is at the store buying drinks for their stay at the motel when she hears someone addressing her. It is Bobby, her college mate and ex-boyfriend. She is surprised to see him after such a long time. He feels the same at this coincidence. He asks how she is and if she is married. He is casual and chews gum while talking, like he's not bothered or anything. But she looks tense and nervous. She hurriedly gets the things and rushes outside the store. Dean is waiting for her next to the car in the parking lot. She is in quite a hurry. She tells Dean about coming across Bobby. Dean is furious at the mention of Bobby. He looks irritable. Why would Cindy talk to him even? Cindy says he wouldn't feel bad if he had seen Bobby, as Bobby has grown fat. Dean doesn't understand the connection between him being fat and Dean feeling better because of it. Cindy has no answer to that. She says she is sorry for upsetting him. He pulls away his hand when she places hers on it to reconcile. She pulls over with an excuse that she needs to pee and rushes into the woods. She stands against a tree trunk and has a moment with herself. She looks disturbed. In the flashbacks, we see young Cindy in her college times. She wants to become a doctor. She is one hardworking and high-scoring student. Bobby Ontario is her boyfriend. She takes care of her grandma, spends time with her, and reads to her. Her grandma is wheelchair-ridden. Upon being asked by Cindy, she says that she never found true love. With Cindy's grandpa, the love wore off over time. Cindy has a dysfunctional family. Her father is hot-tempered, all the time yelling at her mother and ruining the peace of the house. Her mom is a submissive, meek woman. Cindy doesn't want to be like his parents. Love once existed between his parents, but now they can't stand each other. Cindy wonders how one can trust his feelings of love when they vanish just like that. She takes her grandmother back to the care home, helps her change clothes, and makes her lie down. She reads a romantic novel to her. Grandma wants a cigarette. Cindy smiles at her stubbornness and takes out the cigarette for her. She gets up to close the door of the room from inside when she sees a guy in a room across the hall, taking money off the dresser. The guy must have noticed her suspecting look. She closes the door. He knocks at it. He says she is wrong to think that he stole that money. It was his earning. The guy is funny, flirtatious, and charming. Cindy laughs at his sunny personality. He wants to know her name. She won't tell. He thrusts his company card at her with his name written on the backside of it. He says she can call him on the company's number if she likes. He is Dean. At the present time, Dean and Cindy have arrived at the motel. It really is a cheap motel. The room Dean has booked is named the Future Room. Cindy sighs at the sight of this. Dean makes jokes as usual. Cindy doesn't find his jokes funny anymore the way she would years back. She thinks it's childish of him to be like this. She gets into the shower. Dean follows her and tries to be intimate with her. She avoids his touches, gets away, and keeps bathing. Dean gets food for them. Cindy asks why he is so grumpy, ignoring the fact that she was the one rejecting his love a moment ago. Dean puts on Penny and the Quarters' You and Me, the song that used to be their song years back. They sway together along with it. In the flashbacks, Cindy and Bobby are making out when Bobby accidentally climaxes inside of her. She is furious at him and rushes to the bathroom. She breaks up with him later on. He comes after her trying to make her come around. She doesn't want to be with him anymore. He acts aggressively and nags her. Meanwhile, Dean is waiting for Cindy to call him on his company's line. A month has gone by since his first meeting with her. He checks with the receptionist for it daily. He thinks she is his love at first sight. He feels as if he knew her all along. She is unique and special to him. Dean finds Walter's pendant in the truck. It must have fallen from the boxes while loading and unloading. He decides to use it as an excuse to go to the care home, give it back to Walter, and also talk to Cindy's grandma in the hope he gets to meet her again. He finds Walter's room empty. He meets Cindy's grandma and learns Cindy's name from her. On his way back, he spots Cindy on the same bus by chance. He sits beside her. She tells him about Walter's passing. He shows her Walter's pendant. He jests, and she suppresses her laughs. He says she is pretty and crazy. They get off the bus and walk the street. Cindy tells him about her toxic family environment. He says he never wants to get married. Cindy says she wants to go to med school. He says she is made for modeling, not medicine. She giggles at his stupid, funny remarks. He plays his ukulele and sings You Always Hurt the Ones You Love while she dances goofily to it. She sings the president's song. She is enjoying his company, his jokes, and his hilarious personality. At the present time, she and Dean are having dinner in the motel room. She asks him to do something implying he needs to get serious about life, about getting a better job than painting walls and cutting off his happy-go-lucky attitude. Dean doesn't understand. He thinks he is doing just fine by being a good husband to her and a loving father to Frankie. She suggests he draw, sing, and dance. These are the things he is really good at. These will get him a decent job. Dean argues he never thought of being married ever, but eventually he did, and he realized this is what he wanted: a wife and a child. Now that is all he cares about. He is content with his life. His job allows him to spend maximum time with his family. He can't see why she finds his job disappointing. Their argument cools down when she finds something he said funny. They get drunk and wrestle for fun. Dean tries to kiss her. She keeps pushing him away. He asks her what is the matter with her. He wants to have a baby with her. She says nothing. He keeps asking why she is behaving this way. He deserves her love. She takes off. Done with it. He says he doesn't want to make love this way. He wants kisses, caressing, and romantic intimacy, which she doesn't want to give anymore. He steps away and tells her that he loves her. She locks him inside the bathroom. He bangs it, asking her to open it. She weeps to sleep. In the morning, she leaves for the hospital, leaving a note for Dean and unlocking the bathroom door. Dean wakes up and finds Cindy gone. We see, years ago, this same couple making love to each other. They wrestle for fun, kiss in the backseat of a cab, and race each other in the streets. One day she finds she is pregnant and knows it's Bobby's child. Confused about what to do about it, she goes to meet Dean. He asks why she looks upset. She won't tell. He climbs over the fence and says he will jump into the river if she won't tell him what is the matter. She tells him about her pregnancy and that it is of her ex-boyfriend. He asks what she will do about it. She doesn't know. He bangs the fence with his fist in anger and frustration. She decides to go for an She is at the clinic giving the required details. Dean has come with her and is sitting in the waiting lounge. We learn that she had nearly 25 boyfriends, indicating her inability to have a steady relationship. Her upbringing in a broken family is the reason behind that. The nurse wants to know if she is sure about who is the father of this child. She is sure it is Bobby, and she doesn't believe he will be able to take care of her and the baby. The doctor starts the process. She changes her mind in the middle of it and asks the doctor to stop. She is in a worse state of mind when she steps out of the clinic. Dean hugs her and tells her he loves her. He wants to marry her and raise the baby together. She looks at him in disbelief. Upon seeing that he really means it, she hugs her back and says she loves him too. She is relieved and happy. Bobby found out about Dean through his company's card he saw Cindy holding. He leaves a message on Cindy's answer machine, telling her that he is going to teach a lesson to Cindy for stealing his girlfriend. Cindy calls Dean's workplace to warn him, but the calls go unanswered. Bobby and his mates beat poor Dean, leaving him with a black eye and a bleeding nose. Back to the present, Cindy has reached the hospital. She is devastated to learn why Dr. Sam wanted her to work for him in his private clinic. He wanted a fling and was making his moves on her. Cindy looks disappointed. She thought he offered her the position only because she was good at her job. Dean shows up at the hospital to talk to Cindy about leaving him in the motel like that. He is still a little drunk. He notices that the receptionist isn't a fan of his, as if Cindy has told her what a bad husband he is or something. Cindy greets him with a smile. He is put off by her sudden joyful attitude. She never smiles or looks this happy back at home with him. He makes sarcastic remarks at her for being so unfair. Cindy sighs and takes him out of the hospital, asking him to drive home and let her work. He is angry at her for being so harsh. He apologizes for forcing himself on her last night. She starts walking back into the hospital. He follows her stubbornly, asking her to talk to him. She is on the verge of tears, saying she is done with him being drunk all the time and behaving this way. The receptionist keeps interfering. Dean asks her to give them some privacy. Cindy says she has no love for him anymore. He is mad at her for being abusive and saying hurtful things. She says he isn't a man enough. He asks for an explanation. What does she mean by asking her to be a man? The receptionist starts banging on the door for them to open it for no good reason. Dean starts throwing things around, asking Cindy if that is what she means. A man is one who is aggressive and intimidating. The receptionist and Dr. Sam step into the room. They try to stop Dean from creating a racket. He punches Dr. Sam in the nose, causing him to bleed. She panics and hits Dean out of anger. Dr. Sam fires Cindy right away and asks them to get out of the hospital. Once out, Cindy says she wants a divorce. Dean takes his wedding ring off and tosses it away. A moment later, he starts to search for it. In the flashback, Dean is at Cindy's place to meet her parents. He has brought flowers. Cindy's parents ask him about his family and education. He is honest about everything. They talk proudly of Cindy and her ambition to be a doctor. Dean compliments her intelligence. He can't help making jokes about little things even now. Cindy seems to enjoy his silliness. She giggles while others find nothing funny. They sneak away and make out in her room. Dean has brought her a song recording for her, saying it is going to be their song. It is Penny and the Quarters, You and Me. Back in the present time, Cindy drives to her dad's house. They meet little Frankie without showing a sign of friction they have between them. Her dad does sense it though. Dean asks Cindy to think about Frankie and all this. He weeps while saying this. Cindy's voice shakes when she says she does care for Frankie, but she can't be in this marriage anymore. She rather raises Frankie on her own than let her grow up in a home where her parents bicker all the time. Dean bangs the wall when he hears Cindy say all this. Cindy asks her to stop amid her crying loudly. He is apologetic, asking her to tell him how she wants her to be and what she expects her to do to make everything okay. She says this marriage has nothing left in it. Dean comes closer to her. She steps away, refusing his hug. He wraps his arms around her and kisses her head. She stands in his arms forcefully and coldly. The flashback shows us Cindy and Dean getting married in court. She has a baby bump. They are head over heels in love and happy on being together. Today, Dean reminds Cindy of her wedding vows where she promised she would accept him in his best and worst. This is his worst. Why isn't she loving him in it? He needs a chance to get better, but she isn't giving it to him. Cindy says she is sorry. Their marriage ended up like the marriage of their respective parents and grandparents. There was love at the beginning and it faded over time. Or it was a rushed marriage where they didn't get enough time to know each other better. It can be the case that Cindy married him when she was in need of companionship and wasn't in love with him. He always was like this, a laborer, with ordinary goals and with his jokes. What made her get bored of him then? We see newlywed Dean and Cindy leaving the registrar's office, happily shedding tears of joy. Now we see them breaking apart. Dean leaves, and Frankie runs after him. She is crying and wants him to come inside. He makes her run back to Cindy and keeps walking away. Ironically, the room in the motel was called the future room. There is no future for these two, though. The movie leaves us with a lesson: love can be blue. It can't always be red.